Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the another episode of DevOps with Zach. I'm Arshad Zakaria and today I have a guest with me who is Shehan Marino. He is a lead engineer in DevOps, delivery and infrastructure at Xero, New Zealand. Today episode all about automation. So let's get started. Hi Shehan, thank you for joining with us. So how are you doing today?
I'm good, Zach. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So why don't you give us a small introduction about yourself?
Um, well, my name's Shehan, as you mentioned before, and I work as a lead engineer for Xero. Xero is a cloud-based um, accounting software. It's primarily based in New Zealand. Its headquarters are in Wellington, and we are all over the world at the moment, predominantly in the Australia and New Zealand region. But we have offices in the UK, Singapore, Canada, and the States as well. So I work as a lead engineer for the invoicing team, and I work across multiple teams, helping them deliver software to our customers.
That's pretty cool. Interesting. So today, we're going to talk about all about automation. So, what is automation? So, everyone is talking about in DevOps automation, automate that, automate this, and what do you think about automation?
Um, if you consider it as the word itself, it's just getting repeatable tasks done by a machine. So that no manual interventions necessary, or you don't actually repeat doing the same task. It's basically getting the machine to do things for you in sort of a sequence, and it's you are able to sort of repeat the steps, or rather the steps that have to be done, but you give the machine to do a sequence of steps iteratively. um, you mentioned about DevOps and automation, and I want to mention, like, people who want to get into DevOps, that automation is sort of the name of the game, basically. So learning to automate using scripts and different tools is sort of, basically 95% of the job, I'd say.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. In that part, that it's taking the most. The highest part of the job, right? So the automation, yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So I think like we should understand like why this is very important, and with some like give some use case scenarios with that. So in your experience, like would you like to share like with the audience like why this is very important, this automation part, and if you have any use cases to like symbolize why this is very important and pivotal for DevOps.
Absolutely, Zach. So the reason for this whole rise in this DevOps mindset is basically was trying to get your deployables, or rather your artifacts, into the production environment as quickly as possible. So basically delivering from your developer's computer or laptop to the production environment. And the usual the life cycle for software development usually has multiple stages, like your dev environment, your QA environment. Sometimes you have a special stage environment, and then the production environment. So in the past, even when I actually started out my career, I had deployed especially Java artifacts manually from environment to environment, and it became a really, really tedious task. Um, so that's sort of why we sort of needed uh, to not have a single person or multiple people just doing the same repetitive tasks over and over again. So um, speaking of deploying your software to different environments, became sort of this massive gaping hole that needed to be filled, and that's where automating those tasks came into play here. And over time, there was development of scripts, and then those turned into tools. So these tools, like for example, one of the main CD tools is Jenkins out there, and then now you have different companies who come up with their own to actually deploy your code into environments, in a seamless manner, as well as sort of showing you the pipeline of delivering them with a click of a button.
Yeah, like we mentioned before, the automation taking the main part of the DevOps, right? So I would like to add few things there as well. Like you mentioned, like yes, your software packages to deploy multiple environment, and it's even when we call it like CI/CD, right? And for the delivery as well. So when it comes to infrastructure as code, also, right? So I think that there also we are doing basic automation to automate for everything in even the infrastructure. Yeah. So,
Absolutely,
okay,
absolutely.
go ahead. Sorry.
So I think in your last podcast, I think it was Nilesh who mentioned about a lot of IAC as well
Yes,
that has taken over, uh, because the thing is, earlier we used to have this pointy clicky way of, just clicking around the browser of your cloud provider like AWS or Azure, for example. But sometimes when you go at scale, you get kind of fed up doing the same thing over and over again, and sometimes the UI changes as well. But
correct.
these cloud providers have provided us with an API endpoint where we can, speak to that API and do the provisioning as well. So that's where IAC came into play. And for example, tools like Terraform have taken over. I know that now a lot of like the CDKs have come in where you can do it
Correct. With your own
using
language. Yeah.
exactly. Either way, it's the same thing, the same job that's done. I've seen sort of there's a bit of argument going from both sides of the camp. Like for me, I like Terraform. It's clean. You can structure it very well. You don't need to have like in-depth knowledge of
Correct.
any kind of programming language
Yeah. Correct.
to make use of it. On the other hand, let's say a front end dev who's used JavaScript a lot, and they want to deploy, say, if you take AWS for example, they want to deploy their SPA or their single page application out there. They'll just use something like CloudFront, and they'll just put in the assets into an S3 bucket.
It's three bucket. Yeah.
So just deploying those artifacts, they'd want to create that pipeline or just have the infra for that provisioned also in as code, and they wouldn't want to really learn another language, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
the CDK actually helps sort of for them to feel involved as well.
I think AWS CDK is let's take AWS. So AWS CDK is a more JavaScript based. Like I mean, like more, I can see a lot of libraries in JavaScript, especially the TypeScripts. Yeah. So
Absolutely, absolutely. So
yeah,
it supports multiple languages.
multiple languages. Yeah. Even
Yes,
Python,
yes.
Golang.
That's
Yeah.
the beauty of it, right?
Yeah. Exactly. If you're familiar with any
Yeah,
language, you can just go and do it. Right. I mean, like that's pretty awesome.
100%.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, when it's come to automation, like you think like we should automate everything, or what your perspective
Uh,
of that?
I'm going to give you an yes and no answer to this.
Okay.
So
Fine.
let's look at, like, before we actually uh, go into that question. Let's go into us why automation is important. Um, like I mentioned before, it's about not repeating the same task, the same tedious task over and over again. So while you're also doing that, you are also human, right? it's humans doing those tasks, so
Yeah,
we are
correct.
prone to human error. So
Definitely.
it's eliminating those as well. And the purpose of automating, if you look at, for example, Google's SRE handbook, they talk about the word toil here. So the word toil here is basically tasks that they'd want to have to do it manually. But in terms of automating, their target is almost achieving more than 50% of uh, their the tasks that they're doing, that creates toil. So, and then if we go into the question that you asked, so should we automate everything? Now, personally, I'd automate anything that I would see me doing that task more than twice. You know, if there's even a simple thing, if I just have to copy a file, but if it's done, say, twice or thrice a day, I might just write a small script and just let it trigger whenever I want it to be triggered. Um, but there are some things, like some tasks, like you only have to generate, say, a report every 3 months. You'd want to go and see,
Correct.
what's out there as well. So those things I leave it as toil. And again, you might also so you also have to look at the outcome as well here, right? So automating a task basically might require more time than doing the actual task once. So you have to weigh in and see whether the actual effort is kind of worth it, basically. And for tasks, for me, in my job, tasks that take more, basically 2 to 3 times, if it's repeatable, then I definitely automate it. Otherwise, I'll just leave it to do it manually.
Yeah, that's true. So personally, I also believe that like you said, it's impact a lot of areas. So I would give an example, like let's talk about financial side, because the financial sector should be very strong. Any organization and entity. Without that, I don't think we can run any business. So when it's come to the environments like dev UAT production or pre-production, I think most of the organization, like some they automate, some they're not. So I think it's a best practice to automate your dev and UAT infrastructure to automatically shut down after your office. I mean, after work hours, like maybe 6 p.m. can be 7. The UAT as well, so it can be switch on in the morning around like 8 or 9 before we get start work, and the weekends we can shut it down. So I think that's also one of the could be a good example, I believe, to add here. So, what do you think about that?
Absolutely, Zach, 100%. So we at Zero, we do that to most of our test environments. So we do provision them up around 7 a.m. and then we do take them down daily. I
Yeah,
think it's around 6 p.m.
yeah,
Yeah, so like I'm lucky to work where I'm working now. So Zero has this amazing work-life balance. So that's, I think, one of the um, reasons we have sort of that kind of automation done as well. However, so it also depends on, say, if you're a small to medium business, and you're considering about your cloud cost as well, that you um, pay for
uh,
the time that environment's up
per
and
minute
running,
we say,
right?
per minute or per hour. Yeah, correct.
Yes, exactly. It's every second is billable in the
Yeah,
cloud
correct.
space, right? So in terms of the cost as well, I think when you actually on the long run, uh, having those environments that are not being used in a particular set of time, absolutely, yes, and especially like during say Christmas shutdown, or any other long shutdown periods, having
Yeah,
those environments shut down is actually a good idea.
when you calculate the amount, I think you can pretty much save a big amount, like a huge cost from that environment. I believe that like that's
Absolutely.
yeah. And we can, another session, we can talk about the auto scaling and stuff, that automation later. I mean, like, this is mainly we're focusing on the
True.
basic automation, right? So yeah, correct. And you think, like, we are talking about all the technical stuff, right, currently. So
Hmm.
you think it's okay to automate the non-technical stuff as well in organization?
Yes, yes. Let's not only talk about like organizations itself.
Okay.
Like let's talk about our day-to-day activities.
Okay.
Like paying our rent, for example. We have scheduled payments in our mobile apps, most of our mobile apps.
Correct.
If we have, say, you're saving money for a rainy day and you have money going to an account, you'd have that automated. It's good to have it automated as well because then that money would basically go to that account and you wouldn't spend it on,
You can keep a good
um,
discipline, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
That's just one aspect of
Yeah.
it, right?
Correct.
And some of the things that we take for granted are basically, there's some step of automation built into it. There's mobile phone apps that have automation built into it as well, where you can schedule tasks to spin up multiple apps that you want. I, for example, have my home automation running, and I have my alarm and my smart bulbs, for example, synced. So just 5 minutes before my alarm goes, my
Wow.
home automation takes over and then it lights up my bedroom, for example. So I know, I don't get rudely awakened. So in today's world with technology, there's automation everywhere. So you can sometimes point it out and say, okay, I know that this is automated, but sometimes without even you knowing, it's automated. It's part and parcel of life now.
Yeah, that's correct. Even though, like, like you said, have automated few things like the financial side as well. It's a good to do that for keep the discipline level. And like you said, I use Alexa for automate my aircon and lights. So like you said, when I wake up very fresh, with some sound, and it will make me my help to start my day-to-day work very fresh. Yeah, that's true. So
Absolutely. Even having an old school alarm is automation, right?
yeah, that's correct. That's correct, because it's basically is
Yeah.
automated, right? Yeah.
Yes. You have a schedule and it wakes you up. So yeah.
Yeah, and what I did is, like, I start kind of do some kind of growing some plants. And thing is, day to day busy life, I forgot to water in them. So what I did is, I got a few sensors and a small water pump. So, like, every 2 to 3 days, I just fill the bottle, so the pump will automate, and there's a small Arduino board is running, so it will provide the water to those plants. So basically, we can do automate everything in our day to day life.
Yeah, yeah. So that's taking home automation to a new level, Zach.
Yeah,
But,
correct.
but that is automation itself. So
It's a simple code and simple
yeah,
setup. Yeah, basically, yeah.
yeah. Now I know that automation might make us look lazy, but then you actually have to sort of um, it's like automating is trying to get our time back to us as well so that we can
Correct,
sort of concentrate
correct.
on
Some other
doing new
important things.
things.
Yeah, correct, correct.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
what I feel it like, Shehan, when it's come to automating, some, not everyone, some engineers that I feel like very lazy to do automate. They just, they just want to just go with the flow. They just stagnate with the same thing. They just want to go the manual way. They might think, okay, we are going to do it only for one time, so why need automation? So just, click it, that's it, fine. So they're very lazy to do the automation part. So
So
yeah, what do you
yeah,
think about that?
so
There are some
um,
to be honest, right?
yes, so again, like it comes to the fact that whether this task, if it's one time, then like I said, do we also have to think, do is it really so do we have to think about the investment that we need to put in. If it's not, then yeah, just do it one time. But the mentality of let's say some people, they're thinking, say, old school way, or they're used to this certain set of work that they've been doing daily, and it might feel like, automating those tasks will make them redundant as well. But the thing is, the world has moved in such a way, and this is where we want everyone, not just the developers or anyone in the software industry, but also the other industries also have this DevOps mindset, that where we even Nilesh talked about in his when he was in your
Yeah,
podcast the last time, was
correct.
having this DevOps mindset, and it's part and parcel with that. So when you're actually trying to sort of bring in DevOps into an organization, the first thing that you should sort of target is to change the mindset of the team or the organization. And that doesn't mean that you impose anything, but you show them the benefits of doing things in a certain way to automate and so on and so forth, and not basically showing them that you won't be stagnant anymore, and there's always something to look forward to, and not doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, life's too short to do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, that's that's totally agree. Yeah. So another part I'm seeing, like when you come to quality assurance, right? So I have worked with some engineers. They have we had like some quality assurance engineers, but they do some manual testing still. I think those work can be automated in the future, and I think there are a lot of tools available to automate. But it's still sad to see in industry still some organizations, I would say, yep, using the manual path to do those things.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. So now this is sort of a very sensitive topic, especially
yeah,
I
correct,
work
correct, correct.
across multiple um, roles as well. As in, I don't work, but I work with most of the engineers who are doing sort of the quality automation engineers. Some are manual
Yes,
testers, some are developers who write tests. So we have a lot of test-driven development going as well. I've also seen with TDD being adopted, that the quality engineer is morphed into this role of a quality coach, and we've actually done that in our um, uh, portfolio of invoicing in Xero. So we're slowly moving towards this quality coach model where they'd come just
yes,
like DevOps,
yeah.
just like what I was doing. I wouldn't go and sit down with them and do work for them, but I show them how to do it, and sort of enabling them.
So that's the part of
And
DevOps, right? Collaborating with other teams. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So this enablement is sort of also taking over. Now, going back to your initial question about manual versus automation, I think you have to again pick and choose battles here.
yeah, correct.
So the thing is, there's there's automation tests. You have to make sure in automation tests that you actually cover end to end, of all your features, of all the user stories. That has to be done. And with the pressure for product teams, for example, if you're working for a product company, the pressure is always there from the product size to deliver within a certain time frame, right? And
Correct.
you mostly kind of have the first few sprints, it's feature development, and you go in, try to getting the feature upfront, and then work on the tests as well. I've seen some people getting the user stories first, understanding them, and then writing the test first. That's also a good approach, but there will also fall like there's a fallback to actually developing the feature and then writing the tests. And then with automate, like end-to-end automate, if you're talking about bringing the whole um, DevOpsiness into this, say you
Okay.
got trunk-based deployment, and you don't have a special button to deploy, you just use your source control, say GitHub, for example, or Git,
Okay.
have the GitOps model, and you just basically what you do is from your laptop you commit to a particular branch. That branch might actually deploy to a particular environment. So before you deploy, you run basically automated tests for, say, um, a static analysis tool that will actually, look the code at you, look at the code, then it'll basically run maybe a few linters, a few unit tests, a few integration tests. It'll deploy to the environment, run those end-to-end tests again. Once they are all green, it will automatically promote to, say, a QA environment where those tests are run again at a scale, then to pre-prod, which is, at a very large scale, and then eventually to production, all without human intervention, just by doing a commit. Now, we've also seen like the tooling has become so good in terms of automation. If we talk about things like synthetic testing, they've that kind of has taken over for even for in production, where it'll report back before, say your website's sort of, it's the performance is being is sort of degrading, and you sort of see these alerts coming in from your synthetic tests, mentioning, okay, this web page, for example, we are doing a login test, and login took this amount of time which it's not supposed to take. So you would be sort of proactively monitoring as well. So that's like the pro of, say, having end-to-end automation running
Yeah.
almost every single place of
This.
your deployment. Say not just the deployment, the CI/CD as well. So continuous integration and continuous deployment, just having those tests everywhere for it to be sort of fail safe. Um, but I've noticed a lot of people kind of they're resistant to doing automation tests on, especially the UIs. They want to go and do the actual manual test to see if it's working, and then give the thumbs up, especially when it's a production deployment.
Production, yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
again, it's kind of sensitive topic because we have a lot of people who've been doing this kind of
This
testing
is
in a
so long time.
certain
Yeah,
way,
correct, correct. Yeah.
and it's worked for them as well. Now
Yes,
people say if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. But in our mentality, the mentality we have is we always look for continuous improvement.
correct.
And I personally would like to have everything automated. Just hand it over to the machines, right? It becomes a binary answer at the end of the
It's
day.
1 or 0. Yeah, so no, right? That's it.
Yes, yes.
Correct.
But it's our sort of responsibility. If we are actually looking for that absolute perfection in automation, we have to make sure that our test coverage, is at 100%.
Correct.
That's one of the main things, and we've covered all the aspects of, say, a product that we actually release to customers.
Yeah, that's correct. Even I would like to add something there. Like one of my previous places, I used to work for an e-commerce agency. So we had a pretty good QA automation team. So like you said, like synthetics, we used one of the tools to automate. Is basically it's e-commerce, right? So what will happen is the automation. It will go to the catalogs and check and add to cart, and until for the shop end to end, like from the checkout, it will automate. So if there anything, it will trigger a alert to the DevOps team. So it was a pretty good practice we have done, like collaborating with the DevOps team and the QA automation team. So I would say it's one of the best experience in my life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Kai, we are in the end of the session. So anything else that you would like to share with us, Shehan, today?
Yeah. So since this session is mostly about automation, and of course this is DevOps with Zach. Um, DevOps for me has become this. If I'm thinking about how successful I am at sort of implementing DevOps at an organization, first would be the mindset change, and the next would be basically automating myself out of a job. So I did actually look out for jobs previously, and when I was going for interviews, the first thing that came to my mind when they asked, okay, why do you want to leave your current organization? I've been pretty happy with most of the, like 80% of the organizations that I've worked for. And the answer that would, pop into my head was just, I have nothing to do now because I've basically automated myself out of a job. And that's pretty much it, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for your time, Shan, today. So hope to do another episode with you soon regarding another cool topic. So thank you very much for joining with us today. Have a nice day.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, cheers. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Thank you, Shan Marino, for joining with us today. Hope to see you all there soon with another episode of DevOps with Zach. Until then, take care. Bye bye.